This episode of the best books to read is the perfect literary bucket list. From prize winners to controversial classics that got everyone talking, these are must-read books before you die. Gilead by Mary-Lynn Robinson. Set in 1956, Mary-Lynn Robinson's Gilead is a letter from the elderly Reverend John Ames to his very young son. Ames has lived all of his life in Gilead, Iowa, and the novel delves into the history of the area through the characters of Ames's father and grandfather, also ministers, but deeply divided on ideas such as pacifism, duty, and the abolitionist movement. And eventually, when John Ames Boughton, Ames's namesake and godson, returns to Gilead, he brings up old tensions and sets events in motion that disturb Ames's formerly peaceful last days. Gilead is one of the most beautifully written books of the new century thus far, and Robinson's incredibly insightful grappling with faith, mortality, and what constitutes a meaningful life will resonate with readers across every spectrum. A Good Man is Hard to Find and Other Stories by Flannery O'Connor. Flannery O'Connor's first short story collection, written in 1955, will knock you off your feet. Ruthless, penetrating, and loaded with subtext, A Good Man is Hard to Find and Other Stories was brave for its time and feels just as consequential today. Writing in the Southern Gothic tradition in a style wholly her own, O'Connor creates characters that are misguided, stunted curiosities, but she manages to capture what's human in even the most despicable of people, which makes their doomed trajectories feel all the more tragic. And despite the disturbing events that unfold, the stories are a pleasure to read. They're infused with suspense, dark humor, and some of the most evocative imagery you'll encounter in literature. All this makes for a collection that never ceases to amaze, and begs to be reread. Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stuart. Set in a poverty-stricken Glasgow in the early 1980s, Douglas Stuart's blistering, Booker Prize-winning debut is a heartbreaking story which lays bare the ruthlessness of poverty and the limits of love. Agnes Bain has always dreamed of greater things, but when her husband abandons her she finds herself trapped in a decimated mining town with her 3 children, and descends deeper and deeper into drink. Her son Shuggie tries to help Agnes long after her other children have fled, but he too must abandon her to save himself. Shuggie is different, fastidious and fussy, and he is picked on by the local children and condemned by adults as no right. But he believes that if he tries his hardest he can be like other boys and escape this hopeless place. Room by Emma Donoghue. Shortlisted for both the Booker Prize and the Women's Prize for Fiction, Room is a unique novel, about survival, innocence and the bond behind mother and son. You might have seen the film adaptation, which won the Best Actress Oscar for Brie Larson. The book is definitely Gaume-worthy, too. To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. A #1 Sunday Times bestseller and one of Barack Obama's favorite books of 2022, To Paradise is the eagerly awaited latest novel from author of modern classic A Little Life, Hanya Yanagihara. Bold and brilliant, it spans 3 centuries and 3 different versions of the American experiment, and holds lovers, family, loss, and the elusive promise of utopia at its heart. Following narratives set in 1893, 1993, and 2093, within an alternate America, To Paradise is a page-turning and thought-provoking work of emotional genius. Thank you for following our episodes. If you enjoyed them, consider subscribing to our channel for more book reviews and tips. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you can stay up to date with our content.